of the inquiry process.
Well done. Question number 10, the Honourable Nathan Guy.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister of Agriculture, does he stand by all his statements?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Yes, in the context in which they were given.
To the Minister, what is his government's policy on supporting water storage and irrigation projects, given that 7 regions have been declared in a drought this summer?
Mr Speaker, this government supports water storage. We also support farmers, Mr Speaker. We also support farmers when they need it. And I was very happy to declare a drought 3 times in 3 regions that need it. Mr Speaker, on the basis of my success and that rain followed, I have to say it's probably cheaper to fly me around the country than it is to build big storage schemes to get water on the ground.
Mr Speaker, given that there are 2 coalition agreements, one with New Zealand First that states honouring existing agreements, and one with the Greens that talks about winding down government support for irrigation, and then Shane Jones, who's publicly stating he will support localised water storage and irrigation schemes, is he not surprised that officials that were in front of the Primary Production Select Committee are hearing from stakeholders and themselves that they are confused, and there's a huge amount of anxiety because the government won't step forward and say publicly which projects they support and whether the funding will be allocated or robbed for stupid things like student-free fees?
Order. I'm faced with a bit of a problem because the member did have a question which went well beyond a question, but there were also, I think, 3 interjections from my right during the question. So I think what we'll do is we'll add another supplementary into the National Party on an on-balance basis, but I'm going to ask the Honourable Nathan Guy, if he does get a further supplementary question, to make it one which is a question and not a rambling statement.
Speaker. Mr Speaker, the government does support water storage. We have said quite clearly, though, however, we will wind down Crown Irrigation Investments Limited because we believe that the money that the national government gave to schemes was unnecessary. We believe there will be water storage projects in the future, Mr Speaker, but farmers and industry are going to have to work through the best ways of developing those. Mr Speaker, the coalition agreement between our coalition partners is quite clear. The Minister quoted them himself, and we stand by those.
Is he aware that 5 localised projects are construction ready in 2018? 2 in April, 2 in June, 1 in August, totalling 45,000 hectares.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. The member's asked a question. The Honourable Damien O'Connor. A point of order, the Honourable Nathan Guy.
Mr Speaker, yes, I did ask a question, but I was just concluding my sentence with another very important point in terms of context. I would have appreciated you allowing me to finish my question.
I can appreciate that the member might have appreciated, but what I'm trying to do to members of the House, and as far as written questions, people have done it very well today, is to encourage members, when they have asked a question, not to add unnecessary material which is unnecessary to that question being answered to it.
Mr Speaker, I am aware of 5 projects and probably more that farmers around the country would like to have. Those 5 projects are at different stages of development. They are not ready, as that member states, Mr Speaker. And can I say that ministers are working through this extensive decision-making process, and the member's just going to have to wait for the decision to be made. We've been very clear and upfront with Crown Irrigation Investment, Mr Speaker. I think they're comfortable with our position.
Well, Mr Speaker, question to the Minister. Is he aware that if these 5 projects aren't funded, as the commitment has been made by Crown Irrigation and MPI this year, that the Crown, the government, will be exposed legally and morally.
Mr Speaker, I'm aware of different stages of development for all those projects. Mr Speaker, I don't accept the position put forward by the member over there. We will work through this very carefully, mindful of the legal obligations to the Crown.
Question. Oh, sorry.
Mr Speaker, while the Minister publicly stated, I think the Waimea Dam is necessary in September last year, will he support other irrigation projects or continue to be no friend of the farmer as he's already publicly stated since he became Minister?
No. I mean, first and last clauses both out. Question number 11, Jamie Lee Ross.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister.